all of our classes. So welcome. It is very nice to see all of you here joining Hebrew for Beginners. If that's what you're expecting, you're in the right place. Um, as I mentioned, the class is recorded, so your voices, might be in the background if you're, you know, speaking up. Mostly the speaker only, or most of the microphone only picks up me because it's facing this way. But just to be aware, you are not going to be on camera during the class, um, but I am.
But you're trying to
So
do the
let's.
Zoom. You do it through Zoom too?
Yes, but it's not working. It doesn't seem like it's working tonight. There's.
Oh, okay. Because really, for me, it's better to do it on Zoom
Okay.
because I live very far from here and I
Yes.
don't like to drive at night. But really, if you offer Zoom and Zoom, then
Yes,
it
it
would be
is.
great.
It is on Discord and Zoom. Right now, it seems like that's
Yeah,
not working, but
yeah.
it'll be recorded, so you can always go back and watch them on YouTube as well.
Oh, okay.
Give me a call during the week, and I'll walk you through how to
Okay.
find those and how to do that,
Okay.
or I'll come visit you and show you in
Yes, yes.
person.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, so let us begin. Lesson one. By the way, as I mentioned previously, this class is based on Teach Yourself to Read Hebrew. You can pick this up from either the publisher, which is EKS Publishing, or from bookstore of your choice. Shouldn't be more than like $15, which is not bad for a what I think is a very good resource for really teaching yourself Hebrew, but in this case, we're learning together. It makes it even more easy and fun. Let's start to look at some of the Hebrew letters. So, Hebrew letters might look like these. They're different from English letters. What do you notice that's different about these letters from the letters you are familiar with?
Well, the dots again.
Yeah, sometimes Hebrew letters might include a dot as part of the letter. So this dot here that's above the middle letter, that's part of the letter. This dot in the middle, that dot functions as part of the letter. What else do you notice?
Those are print, like they are not cut.
Correct.
Cut.
These
It's just
these are
like boxes, like little,
yes.
like
This is printed Hebrew that we're
mm,
looking at. It's also sometimes called square Hebrew because the letters are sort of square shaped. They're sort of boxy. Um, in uh, anything that's printed in a book, a newspaper, a computer, you'll see this type of Hebrew script. If you're handwriting Hebrew, and that would be a totally separate class from this one. We're not going to even look at Hebrew cursive, but there is a Hebrew script that is handwritten, which looks a bit different, but otherwise is the same. If you are writing a letter, writing a note, writing a shopping list in Israel as a native speaker, you're 100% of the time writing in script. You would never write in these letters, these boxy um, print letters, um, unless there was some special reason to do so. If you were like drawing, big letters for like a poster, homecoming dance or something like that, where if you were doing something, yeah, um, almost like calligraphy. There is Hebrew calligraphy. That's also another class,
yeah, yeah.
um, which is um, actually is a great class that I've taught before, and I love to teach it because it's calligraphy is not really the right word because there's so much more to it. But it's the closest thing that we have, at least in English, to the detail and artistry that goes into Hebrew writing, um, or safut. All of that is trivia. Those are things that are good to know. They're not part of this class where we're going to be focusing on printed Hebrew letters, the ability to read Hebrew. Now, in the book, there are some writing exercises that show you how to handwrite the printed letters. That is a good way to learn. It's a good way to practice the block letters or the printed letters, but it is not a skill that is useful in modern day Hebrew. Comprende?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, some things that are important to know about Hebrew letters. All Hebrew letters are consonants. All of these are consonants. What's the difference between a consonant and a vowel?
Well, yeah, it's a very good question.
A vowel is
The vowel is the
C,
ABC. No, no, I, O, I vowels, and ABCD
the
Yeah.
consonant.
So open sounds and closed sounds, as a linguist might say.
Mhm.
So what makes certain sounds a vowel versus other sounds that are consonants? It's not arbitrary. Vowels are all open sounds. They're sounds that your voice passes through. I, o. If you were singing, the vowel is the sound that you can hold the note. Some consonants can be extended, like an S. You can say s, like a snake, but it is not an open sound. It is an interruption in literally in the airflow. Some letters it's very obvious, like a B or a D. Those consonants where it's very clear that there is a full stop of the air moving through your vocal instrument. Other letters like an S or an L are a little bit more subtle, but they are still a stop somewhere in your vocal instrument of the sound. A consonant is a stop, a vowel is an open sound. So that's why we say, at least in English, at least in grade school when I went, was A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. And in Spanish, it's the same. A, E, I, O, U.
And why when it's the last letter of a word.
Okay.
It changes to an I.
And Y. How do you say the letter Y in Spanish?
Well, it's Y.
Y.
Well, the sound is in, like an Y, but when you have words like muy or Paraguay, when you have Y at the end, it changes to an I. So it's like A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y, like you said.
And sometimes Y.
I know, I never can say enough.
In this lesson, you'll learn these three Hebrew letters. So let's start with the first of these three Hebrew letters, bet. The sound of a bet, everybody say bet,
Bet.
is a B as in boy. Ba, ba, ba. Everybody say B as in boy.
B as in boy.
We'll have a chance to take a closer look at these letters in a moment. The shin is a sh sound. Sh as in shape.
As in sheep.
This is a taf. Everyone say taf.
Top.
Taf is t as in tall. T, t. Let's take a closer look at the letter bet. Everybody say bet.
Bet.
The bet, you can always tell it's a bet because there's a ball in the box. Do you see the ball?
Mm-hmm.
The bet has a flat bottom, the
Mhm.
bottom of the bet. That'll be important when you're looking at other Hebrew letters that might have a similar shape. The bet is flat on the bottom,
Mhm.
or the bet has a broad bottom. Everyone say, the bet has a broad bottom.
The bet has a broad bottom.
And finally, we have shin. Sounds like sh. This is a letter you've heard in the word shalom.
Mhm.
Everyone say shalom.
Shalom.
Good. And the shin can have this letter, or this glyph, to be really technical. This shape can have a dot on the right or on the left.
Mhm.
If you get confused, you can remember she is always right.
Okay.
Who is always right?
She.
She. So this letter is a shin with the dot on the right. Linda's going to be very disappointed she missed this one.
She's always right.
She is always right. So that if the dot is on the right-hand side, that's a shin. The last letter is a tav. Sounds like t, as in Torah. Torah is spelled with tav. It's important to remember that tav has a toe. See the little toe here?
Mhm.
It's got its toe sticking out. If you see a toe, you know it's a tav. If there's no toe, no tav. Everybody say, tav has a toe.
Tav has a toe.
Good. Now let's take a look at some of the Hebrew vowels. Now, Hebrew vowels are different from Hebrew letters. All of the Hebrew letters are what?
Consonants.
Consonants. Yes. Vowels are not letters. Vowels work with the letters to make sounds or syllables, but vowels are not letters. They are different. Written Hebrew, the written language of Hebrew, predates the invention of written vowels. Why are vowels not represented by letters in Hebrew as they are in English or Spanish or most European languages? Because Hebrew is such an ancient language, it was written down before anybody came up with the idea, oh, we should write down vowels as well as consonants. The first alphabets, which are all Semitic languages like Hebrew or Phoenician or Arabic or Aramaic, are all written in this style, where the letters are consonants and the vowels are added later. That's not something that you need to know to read Hebrew, but it's interesting to know why Hebrew ended up the way that it has. The next part is important for reading Hebrew, to know that the vowels are shown by adding dots and dashes below or beside the letters. Now, don't be confused. Some of the letters, like the bet or the shin, might have a dot that is a part of the letter.
Mhm.
The shin always has that dot. It's part of the shin. Sometimes those dots might look like vowels. They masquerade as vowels, but don't get confused. There are sometimes dots that are a part of the letter. If it's not a part of the letter, then it's probably a vowel. So let's look at some things about Hebrew vowels. 2 Hebrew vowels are shown below. They both appear below a letter. These vowels, every time they show up, will always appear below a letter. It's important to know that a Hebrew vowel can never show up on its own. In English, you have a word like a, like you say, I was going to say apple, that doesn't work. Like a book. Over there is a book. That's a vowel just by itself. In Spanish, you have the same thing. Linda y yo. The y, the y, did I say that even close? Y.
Greek eye.
The y is a vowel by itself. In Hebrew, you cannot have a vowel by itself. No such thing exists. Every vowel has to be with a letter. Really, you can think of it as being inside a letter. You can think of it, as I said last week, as being like a soul inside the body of the letter. The letter is like the body, and the vowel is like the soul. Now, the following two vowels are pronounced in the same way. These are both ah vowels. Say ah, ah. Here you can see that they show up below the letter. I'm using the letter bet as an example, but you could put any Hebrew letter there. Vowels are independent from the letters in the sense that you can put any letter with any vowel. There are no exceptions.
I
Yes.
have a question. When you showed the first bed, it had the dot in the middle, but this one doesn't have a dot in the middle. So
This one does not have a dot in the middle. I got lazy. If we're being technical, this is not a bet, it's a vet.
Oh, okay.
It's a they're like brother and sister. They're the same letter but not the same letter.
I thought maybe if you put the vowel, you took the dot out or something.
No, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I just got lazy and I didn't put the dot in there.
Oh, okay.
um,
But that makes it a vowel. The ones that
correct. The vet in this case, it's a placeholder, could be for any letter. That's just to show you where the letter would be. That's why I have it like grayed out so you can barely see it. Just that you have the hint of where a letter would be. This is just to know where these vowels show up. That could also be a shin or a tav or any other Hebrew letter in that same spot. These vowels will always show up underneath the bottom of the letter, usually right in the middle like this, unless there's another vowel sort of pushing on them. But they'll always be in the same spot. You'll never find this in the middle of a letter. It'll never be above a letter. Same thing with this one. These vowels are always in the same spot in relation to the letter, in relation to the consonant. And this is ah as in yacht. Everyone say ah as in yacht. Now, by the way, the Hebrew that we're learning in here and the Hebrew that you'll learn in here is generally referred to as Sephardic Hebrew. I refer to it as American Hebrew because there are some aspects of how we pronounce words Hebrew in America that are distinct to American dialect. It's based on Sephardic Hebrew, which originates with the Jews of Sepharad, who have roots in Spain. Sepharad is the Hebrew name for Spain. It is pronounced differently from Yemenite Hebrew or Ashkenazi Hebrew or Prussian, not Prussian, Persian Hebrew. Big difference. By the way, Prussia would be Ashkenaz. That's the Hebrew word for Germany is Ashkenaz. That's where Ashkenaz or Ashkenazi comes from. If you've heard of Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews, uh, respectively, they have their roots in Germany and in Spain. Although most Sephardic Jews are not from Spain and most Ashkenazi Jews are not from Germany, um, because these were places where Jews and Jewish culture spread from. They were different centers of Judaism at different periods in history. All of this has nothing to do with pronouncing Hebrew, but it's still interesting to know. What is important is that you will sometimes hear different Hebrew letters pronounced differently if you go to another community. American Sephardic pronunciation is what we are learning here, in which case these have the exact same sound. If you went down the street to the Chabad Center and you were studying with Rabbi Asher, he would probably give you two different sounds for these letters because Chabad tends to favor Ashkenazi American pronunciation, which is a little bit different. And so some of the letters, some of the vowels have different sounds, in which case these two have slightly different sounds in Ashkenazi Hebrew. So if you're ever reading Hebrew or studying Hebrew with somebody and you're trying to remember and they say something, oh, that vowel doesn't sound like that, it sounds like this, you'll know that they're not just trying to confuse you. They learned a different dialect of Hebrew than we're learning here. This is the dialect that most people use in this congregation, that you'll hear when people come up and read the Torah, that all of the prayers are pronounced in. That's why we use this here. Now, let's combine letters and vowels together. So here we have bet and ah. Here we have shin and ah. We have tav and ah. In Hebrew, you read the letter first and then the vowel. So if we look at this equation, read the letter first and then the vowel. As we discussed last week, Hebrew is read from right to left. So this equation is written from right to left. Shin plus ah, or sh plus ah, equals sha. Everyone say sha. Good. Think you've got it? Good. Now, it's practice time. The first one, we're going to take b plus ah, and everybody on three. 1, 2, 3. Ba. Good. Next one is sh plus ah. Everybody on three. 1, 2, 3. Sha. Good. And the last one is t plus ah. Everybody together. 1, 2, 3. Ta. Good. Ba, sha, ta. Think you've got it?
So that little line and the other one, that stands for the ah vowel.
Exactly.
So when they write it, they do it like that, or put like a little line like that?
If you're handwriting, usually if you're handwriting something, you don't include vowels.
Oh, because they already know it.
Yeah. If you're fluent in the language, there are some exceptions. There are a couple of spots where you would add a vowel for clarity. If you were spelling out your name Jackie, then you would probably add some vowels so somebody knew that it wasn't pronounced a different way. If you're writing a loan word from another language, there are a lot of words, just like English or Spanish has words that originate in other languages. You know, if you're writing, uh, um, you know, like a scientific term, I'm trying to think of like, you know, paleontology. I don't know, but if I had to guess, I'm 90% sure that in Hebrew that would be paleontologia. You would probably have, you know, paleontology, the study of dinosaurs.
Yes.
Um, uh, there are some examples like that where you would expect to see the
That does.
where you would expect to see the vowels. Otherwise, they're really not needed.
Okay.
Uh, and if you're handwriting, the vowels look just the same. You would still have a straight line. You would have a little T shape. This is sort of a fancy T shape. It's not exactly like a little T.
It looks like a
It's got a
toilet.
it's got a little it's got a little teardrop.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a little.
That's a characteristic of the font. You'll see other fonts. How does it look in the book? In this book, it looks just like a T. It's two sticks like that. All right. Anytime you see that, you know it's an ah. But again, just like we have different fonts in the Latin alphabet, there are different fonts in the Hebrew alphabet. You ever wonder where the word alphabet comes from? It's from right here. Yeah.
Thank you.
And in this case, the ah, each of these vowels, although they're different vowels, they have the same sound. There are, is it 5 or 6? A, E, O, U, A. There are 6 vowel sounds in Hebrew. In English, there are something like 30, it's 20 something or 30 different vowel sounds. That includes diphthongs, which are words like when you say, you know, the opposite of in is out. Ow is a diphthong. It's a sort of, these again are, you don't need to know any of this to read Hebrew. The important point is that Hebrew has only 5 or 6 vowel sounds, as opposed to English that has like 30. Spanish, I think, has 5. A, E, I, O, U. I don't think there are any others.
No, not really.
So it's much easier than, is it hard to learn English as a second language because of all the different vowel sounds?
My dad would always say Spanish was a lot easier to learn because it's simple.
Yeah, I'm glad that English was my first language. I didn't have to learn it.
Not vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's practice time. So we're going to go around the table. Do I have a volunteer to go first? All right, then we'll start right here on my right. Go ahead and give line 1 a try. They get harder as they go along, so you got the easiest one by going first.
It's bet.
If you're just pronouncing it, it would be b.
Ba, ba, ba. Wait, is that so? Is it still the same, even though it has the little T and then the little line?
They're exactly the same sound.
Okay.
It's ah. So it's not ah like bat. It's ah like yacht.
Okay. Oh, like that. Okay. Okay. So the whole line then. Okay. Ba, ba,
Mhm.
be, ba, 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 ba.
Excellent.
Okay.
Line 2.
Sh, sha, sh, sha, sh, sha, 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 sha.
Good. You guys are doing great. Did you think you didn't have to do one? Number 3, line 3.
Is it t?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so t, ta, 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 ta.
Good. I counted one more ta, but I'll take your
Oh,
word
okay.
for it. All right, Chris.
Okay. Ta, sha, ba, ba, sha, ta, sha, ba, ta.
Good. Now, number 5. You've got combining letters together. Let's see how you do. I'll help you out if you need it.
Da, dat, ba, sha, shash,
Good.
sha, shat.
Beautiful. That was perfect. You
Good
think you're ready
job.
for line 6? Give it a shot.
Oh my goodness. Mm. The
No helping, no helping.
um, bar, bar, that's not right.
Good job.
Hold on, let me think. Ta,
Good.
let's see. Um, wait. I'm already getting confused.
You got ta. That's a good start.
Okay.
And the next letter has a broad bottom. Good. Tab.
I'm getting confused already.
Has a broad bottom. A ball in the box.
Okay. But seven. Oh, wait.
Just
Okay.
shab.
Shab.
Good.
Okay. I'm just making it more complicated than it is. I'm thinking it's.
No, everybody learns languages in a different way.
Okay.
I've taught Hebrew to, can I say hundreds? No, dozens of different people. Not yet hundreds. We'll get there. I'm still a young rabbi-ish.
And boss.
Good.
Okay.
Bosh. Perfect. Good job. In the book, these are some examples of activities you can do. If you do want to get the book and practice at home, they have instructions for writing these block letters, which is great practice. If you find that you have trouble mixing letters up, the first 3 letters were selected because they look very different from one another, but you'll find that there are other letters that look very similar. If you find that you're mixing up letters frequently, one of the best ways to get to the bottom of it is to practice writing or drawing the letters. Because then you really have to think about the individual shape of each letters, and the book will help you with that. We will not cover that in this class. So, for this one, you don't have to write it, but I will have you read line 1.
We'll just read each letter.
Correct.
Sha, ba, ba, sha, ta, ba, sha, ba, ta, ta.
Good. Number 2.
Okay. Shab. Oh, shash.
Good.
Shash. Tat.
Mhm.
Bat. No, bab.
Good. Good catch.
Shash. Tat. Yes. Okay. And bat. No, bab.
Bob. Good.
I get confused with the T.
Bob. Yes. Don't think of it as a T. Think of it as an ah. We used to call it candy bar and an umbrella. So you get a candy bar, you say, ah.
Okay.
And when you pull out the umbrella, you say, ah.
Okay. Shot, bash, tash, bash, tab, shab.
Very good. Now, name an English word that begins with this sound.
That.
Boat.
Boat. We're still going. Anybody else have any other good words?
Oh, it has, okay. It's
No, that was right. That was correct. We're going to keep going around. Name an English word that begins with this sound.
Since you already had said shape, but I can't even see. I feel like I'm not blank.
What do you wear on your feet?
Shoes.
Shoes. Good. If you said socks, we would be in trouble. No. Right. Name an English word that begins with this sound.
like two.
Sure.
Two. But what about if I said tab? That wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what would be the vowel?
Oh, how would you write it out? We might practice that at some point in here, writing English words in Hebrew letters. You can't always do it exactly. But this is just the consonant, so whatever comes after it can be anything you want. It could be tugboat. It could be Tootsie Roll. It could be tiger. Teeth.
But if it was
Oh, tickle. Yes.
but if it was a vowel, it would have to be like top or something like that. If it was a vowel, it would be different.
Those are all vowels that follow the t in English.
I don't know. That's okay.
I'm thinking if there's an exception. I believe that t in English is always followed by a vowel unless it's at the end of a word. Like we had the example boat earlier that ends with a t. And it's the same in Hebrew, by the way, that you would not have a t all by itself. It always has a vowel that goes with it. Either it's at the beginning or the end of a syllable. All right, let's practice some more. Remember I said by the end of this lesson you would know at least one Hebrew word? We're getting close. We're getting closer than you think. Go ahead.
Okay.
Line 1.
Is this supposed to be a word or just only a sound?
Just what you see. They're not all words.
Okay. Shall. Dash.
Close. I see 2 vowels there.
Oh,
You're looking at this one.
yes.
Okay, good.
Sha, sha.
Good. Sha-sha
Okay. And
or
then,
sha-sha. I don't know.
And then sha, sha.
Good. Shab.
Okay. And sha, ta.
Good.
And sha, ba.
Good. Line 2.
Ba, ba, baba, bash, bata, basha, bata.
Good. Line 3.
Da, 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 dash, dasha, da, da, dasha.
Excellent. Line 4.
Shall. Sabit. Um,
Just shab.
Shab. Shab.
Good.
Um,
Corn on the.
Tab. Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay.
Don't be confused by the bet at the end of a
Okay.
word.
Okay.
Look at me for a moment. Don't look at
Mhm.
these words.
Mm-hmm.
Corn on the.
Cob.
Um, I go to work every day at my
What?
job.
Job.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, uh, one of those haircuts that's like this. You might not know that one.
Mushroom? I don't know.
Do you know that? A bob?
Bob. Oh, okay. I'm like, what? Okay.
Um, you get the idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ta. De. Ba. De. Is it?
Pause.
Mm-hmm.
So these you were listening to English rhyming words. Uh, my friend Robert, for short, I call him
Rob.
Rob or Bob. So that's what we should see here. We've got the ah and the b.
Okay.
So shab, tab. Keep going.
Um. Sha. T. Ta. Ta.
Start from the beginning here. We've got shab, tab.
Tab. Tab. Tab.
This one should rhyme with the ones that came before it. Do you see
Okay.
how they rhyme? It's the same vowel and the same letter at the end.
Mm-hmm. Um. Ba. Bob.
Good, Bob.
Mm-hmm. Sha. Te.
And we should hear those merging together into one syllable.
Sha. Um. Sha.
Good.
Okay.
I went to the drugstore and I got my Pfizer
Shot.
shot. Exactly.
Okay.
Um, I went to the future and I met a friendly
Bob. Bob. Te. Bob. Wait.
short for robot.
Bot.
Bot. Good.
Okay. And ta. Te. Ta. 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 Tot.
Good.
Okay.
A little bit bigger than a baby is a tot.
Tot.
Good. And by the way, I think unless I missed something, I think that you had our first complete Hebrew word, which is bat, as in bat mitzvah. Bat. Very good. All right, continuing. Are we on line 6? 5. Line 5.
Shaba, Basha,
Good.
Shata, Tasha, Tasha.
I don't see a second ah, I just see one ah.
Oh, Tosh.
Good. Tosh.
And Bata and Taba.
Good. Line 6. Now we're up to 3 letters.
Shashab,
Good.
Bashab,
Good.
Tashab,
Good.
Shashat, and Shaba.
Good. Line 7.
Babash, Shabash, Tabash, Bat. Bat.
Good. Line 8.
Shabbat, bat, Shabbat, shash, Shabbat.
Excellent. Did anybody recognize a word in that line?
Shabbat.
Shabbat. That's right. Didn't I tell you by the end of this lesson you would be able to read a Hebrew word? Did you believe me when I said it? And yet here we are, Shabbat. It's I think it's late enough in the week. It's Thursday. It's after sundown for me to say Shabbat Shalom. I hope I see you all tomorrow evening for services, either in person or online. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you again next week. We'll continue with even more letters and vowels.
This word, it was very good practice. It's never like that.
Yeah.
Good, good.